Hi everyone, this is a short tutorial on making seventh chords, how to build seventh chords and the different types of seventh chords. They're really handy to know, especially if you're composing music, whether it be songs, whether it be blues, whether it be classical, doesn't matter what type of music that you're composing, seventh chords are fantastic tools to change the feel and the vibe of what you're actually creating, so they're really handy to know about. So before we start, there's a few things that you do need to know. So if you don't know how to read music, well, this is going to go way, way, way over your head. So it's really good if you already know how to read music, especially on the treble staff, because that's what we're going to be looking at today, the treble clef. And also, what you also need to know is a good understanding what sharps and flats are. If you don't know what sharps and flats are, you need to go back and do a bit of revision on that so you've got your head around it. Now, it's also handy if you know how to build a major scale, what the different intervals are in a major scale. That is also very handy because I'm going to be referring to that in this tutorial. And also chord theory, if you know about triads, because that is also something that we're going to be referring to as well in this tutorial. So I do have another tutorial on chord theory, so you can also go back and have a look at that if you're unsure. So let's go ahead. We're going to start off using C major as the basis for our first seventh chord. We're using C major because it's so easy to work with because there's no sharps or flats, so we like to use C major. So we start off on C and we build out our C major triad first, so C, E, G, okay? And then what we're doing is we're just adding the seventh note, and in this case the seventh note is B, and we're just going to add B straight in. Okay, so this actually gives us a seventh chord. This is our first seventh chord, and this one is called C major 7. Now C major 7, as you can see, has basically got our C major triad on the bottom, and it looks like that. Okay, M7, capital M7, that's the symbol for a major 7. Okay, and we've got C major, that's another way of writing it up there, C maj. So it sounds like this. It sounds, to me it sounds jazzy. Okay, that's C major 7. So we're going to go to our next chord now. So our next chord, we're going to use a C major triad on the bottom again. So C, E, and G, C major triad. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to flatten the seventh. So we're going to have a B flat. So this gives us another seventh chord, and this one's known as a dominant seventh. Okay, and it's written like this, C7. So whenever you see a dominant seventh written, it basically is a major chord with a flattened seventh. Okay, and it sounds like this. You hear this a lot. It's the most common seventh chord that you will hear. Okay, so the next seventh chord, we are going to start changing things around a bit now. We're going to go into minor. So we're going to change it to a C minor triad, and the only thing we have to do is flatten the third to make a C minor triad. So now we have C minor on the bottom, and we're going to keep our flattened seventh. So now we have C minor 7. So you can see there the symbol for minor is a small m7. Okay, small m minor 7. You got your minor chord. So it sounds like this. Nice chord. Beautiful sounding chord. Okay, let's go to the next one. We're going to keep doing some things to our seventh chord. So we're going to keep this seventh chord and we're going to do something else. Now we're going to flatten the fifth and see what that looks like and sounds like. So here's our flat third, flat 5, and our flat 7. Now this is called it's actually called a C half diminished. Okay, it's a half diminished, and there's a couple of symbols for it. So you've got your C minor on the bottom and a minor 7th on top, so that's why we've got C minor with a flat 5. Okay, but you can see down the bottom in the red writing there's a little 0 or a little circle with a slash through it, and that's the symbol for a half diminished. Okay, half diminished 7. And this sounds like this. It's a nice sounding chord as well. Okay, very nice. So let's move on. We're going to do something different now. We're going to make it a fully diminished. So to make it a fully diminished chord, we have our flat third, we have our flat 5, and then we double flat the 7. That sounds a bit weird, I know, but yes, you can double flat a note. So what essentially happens is that B now becomes an A because it's been flattened twice. And it sounds like this. And it's called a diminished chord. Okay, so it's a fully diminished chord. Let's C diminished. And the symbol for diminished, as we saw a bit earlier, is a little circle. Okay, so we've got our diminished triad on the bottom and a double flat on top. It's a fully diminished chord. All right, now the last chord we're going to look at is a combination of our minor 7 and our major 7. Okay, well, it's not a minor 7, it's actually just a minor on the bottom. So we've got our minor triad on the bottom, and then we're just adding a major 7 on top. And this is called a C minor major 7. Yeah, a bit of an odd name, but it's combining the two. Okay, now, well, I'll just go back one. Now, the C minor major 7 sounds like this. Okay, now that particular chord, I've heard it at the end of the Pink Panther theme. They use the C minor major 7. I think they also might use it at the end of the James Bond theme. But anyway, it's an interesting sort of suspenseful chord to end on. Rightio, so let's look at the C major 7. Sounds like this. I think it sounds jazzy. Okay, so I'll just... I think it sounds very jazzy, so you hear it used a lot in jazz. Now, the C7, which is the dominant 7, to me sounds bluesy. Okay, it's a very bluesy sounding chord. Now, C minor 7, I think it sounds happy, even though we've got a minor triad on the bottom. For some reason, it just sounds happy to me. Yeah, I think it's a happy sort of sounding chord. And then we've got C minor 7 flat 5, which is also known as the half diminished. Now this one, I think it sort of sounds warm. I think it's a very warm sounding chord, even though it's very minory, but it's got a very warm sound. So if I play it over 2 octaves, this is what it sounds like. Sort of like a really romantic chord. Okay, so that's the one I think is very warm. And then we've got the fully diminished. Now I think the fully diminished chord, to me, it sounds like it's a very tense type of chord because it sounds like it doesn't resolve. It needs to go somewhere. It needs to move somewhere. So have a listen to it. I'll just play it slowly. Now if we play it over 2 octaves, it sounds like this. Okay, for me that sounds a bit tense. And then we've got our C minor major 7, which to me is like it is suspenseful, it's sort of tense, it's sort of comical, it's got a few elements to it. It sounds like this. So yeah, it is what it is. So and they may feel different to you. You might actually feel like they've got different meanings or carry different type of feelings for you, these 7th chords, but they're really good. Especially if you're composing, whatever it is you're composing, just, consider using 7th chords as well. They actually give your music a really different feel, and they're pretty cool to use. All right, that's it for today in this tutorial. You can check out my YouTube channel for other musicology tutorials and other music tutorials, and thanks for listening.